Hey, I'm Srini, host and founder of the Unmistakable Creative Podcast, and in this video, I'm going to show you how you can use Smart Write and Edit to gather all your notes and plan a project in Mem in less than 5 minutes. And if you haven't checked it out, be sure to check out our free ultimate guide to building a second brain in Mem. I'll include a link in the description below. Now, let's get to the tutorial. So a couple of days ago, I was working in Mem on a project called the Artificially Intelligent Creative, which is just a free ebook that I'm writing. And I decided to see what would happen if I had Smart Write and Edit actually fill out my project plan for me. And I was pretty blown away by what it was able to do in terms of putting together all the resources and also generating a list of notes, books, and all the things that I needed for this project in particular. And so what I wanted to do in this video, show you how you can use Smart Write and Edit to plan your projects and gather the necessary resources and notes faster than you ever thought possible. And there are basically 3 steps to every project, according to Scott Belsky, the author of Making Ideas Happen. Action steps, which are tasks to complete the project, reference material, which are your resources, in this case, they're going to be your notes, and then back burner items. Those are things that you come across that you might be able to use, but maybe not today. So think of those as things that you could refer back to at any time. And the nice thing about Mem is that they'll either resurface when you need them, or you can just find them by searching for them. Now, the thing that I like to do is combine Scott Belsky's principles with Tiago Forte's principles from Building a Second Brain. And so what we're going to do is we are going to do 2 types of projects. One that I have absolutely no notes on that is ridiculous, and one that I have a ton of notes on. And we're going to see what Smart Write and Edit does. And so there are 3 steps to this. We're going to answer the project kickoff questions, then we're going to gather all the notes, and then we're going to develop a project plan. So as you'll see here, I decided to choose the most crazy and absurd thing that I could think of, and that is to take up base jumping as a hobby. And obviously, I have no intention of taking up base jumping as a hobby, but I thought it would be a pretty fun way to kick off this video. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use my new project template, and this template comes directly from Tiago Forte's book, Building a Second Brain. And it basically has 4 project kickoff tasks, or 5 project kickoff tasks, and then a couple of questions that we want to answer. And let's say in this case, my success criteria is, so let's just say that my success criteria for this project is to survive my first base jump. So now I've converted all of these into H2 so that they're easier to see. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to have Smart Write and Edit fill out all the answers to these questions. And chances are I probably have absolutely 0 notes on base jumping, so it'll be interesting to see what it comes up with. All right, so obviously you can see it's giving me some pretty general instructions on safety precautions and necessary equipment. So now it's going to give me the things that I need to find out about my new base jumping project. All right, so I need to find out about safety protocols and the kind of training, and it can even tell me what my goal or intention behind my base jumping project is. Okay, so there we go, to become a confident base jumper. All right, so now we're going to see who I could talk to. I'm guessing that's going to recommend some professional base jumpers. So let's just say generate a bulleted list. What's amazing about this is that it actually uses the concept of archipelago of ideas, because that's how I planned all of my previous projects. You can see here, it lists different articles. It gave me a list of books. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put these all into bullets and break them up. And so it actually basically filled out all the resources for me, so I don't even have to answer this question now. I could say, who could I talk to if I wanted to, but let's just go ahead and we will basically break this up by podcast, books, and articles and move them down here to our resources section. I'm going to get rid of that question. Here we go. This is basically who could I talk to. There's a couple of different books that it's recommended as well. So we're going to move those here to our resources section. And let's go ahead and convert this into a bulleted list. So it's nice and clean. And give it just a second here and you'll see that it spits back a nice cleaned up bulleted list of all those books. Great. So now we have got our list of books to read. We've got some podcasts that we can check out. Apparently there's a base jumping podcast. We might want to listen to a few episodes of that. So now we've got all our resources for this project. So we can basically say, call this resources. We'll just make this a H2 tag and then make these all H3 tags. So we can separate this line just so they're all separated. But you can see here, it gives me podcast, books, articles, and other things that I might need to do for my plan to start base jumping. Now, what we're going to do next is we are going to create a project plan and action steps. So you can get as specific as you want about this. Let's just say generate a plan so I can do my first base jump in 2 months. And you can see here, now it's actually given me a step-by-step plan for how to become a base jumper. Now, obviously, like I said, this is the most absurd example that I could think of, and I have absolutely no notes on base jumping inside of Mem. But you can see in just a matter of about 5 minutes, we planned out an entire project, gathered all of the resources, including podcasts, books, articles, and even came up with the action steps. What we're going to do now is we're going to go through a second project. And what I'm going to do in this project is use notes that I actually have a ton of information on inside of Mem, unlike my base jumping project, which is absolutely ridiculous because I have no intention of ever taking up base jumping. But when it comes to decision making, I have tons of notes from books, tons of notes from podcast transcripts. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the same process we did before, and I'm going to use Smart Write and Edit to fill out all of the information I need to complete this project. And these questions that you see here, as I mentioned before, come from Tiago Forte's book, Building a Second Brain. So I basically just took what he had in the book and I turned them into a template in Mem that I use every time I want to work on a new project. So what you're seeing here is that Smart Write and Edit is actually helping us fill out all of this information for us to get started on this project, which is really cool because it's basically taking the time it takes to gather all the resources that you need for your project and really cutting it down substantially. As opposed to you having to search for everything, you're able to use Smart Write and Edit to gather all of your notes and also plan out the project. So what you're seeing here is some of this information is coming from the larger internet, but some of it is also referencing my own notes inside of my database. And basically what I'm doing is I'm just asking it for all of these. And what you'll see here when we get to the resources section is that we can actually list notes that mention decision-making or have decision-making in the title. And you'll see here now it's going to give me a list of things that I can read or listen to. And every now and then what it'll do is it'll double up or duplicate. In this case, you can see here it kind of gave us some similar ideas. So we might want to say generate a bulleted list of books, articles, and podcasts. And let's see what it comes back with. And just as an FYI, sometimes this can take a little bit. Okay, so you can see here that this time it didn't do so great with this, but a lot of times it really does well. So what we're going to do now is we are going to create a list of resources based on the notes that we already have inside of Mem. Now, one thing I noticed when I'd done this in the past or when I was testing this idea out before I recorded this video is that if you try to list the resources inside the Mem for the project, you tend to get somewhat mangled results. But if you just create a separate Mem and basically say bulleted list of notes with decision making in the title. What you'll see is that it actually gives us a list of all of our various notes inside of Mem that we might have on that particular topic. Now, this works a lot better when you have a lot more information inside of Mem, and you'll notice here that it gave us a bunch of bullets, but what you'll see here is that these are all actually links to notes that I have inside of my database. So I can go in here and I can actually start adding links to all of these. And so in a matter of about 3.5 minutes, we have actually planned out an entire project. And so I'm going to go ahead and just cut these, and I'm going to go ahead and add them here to my list of resources. And now what I'm going to do is have it generate a bulleted list of tasks to complete or action steps. And now you can see here, it's given me a somewhat generalized project plan here, but overall, this is actually pretty great in terms of being able to plan projects rather quickly. You can see here that we gathered a bunch of resources. It gave us some insights on what we need to find out about, and we were able to get all of our notes here. And obviously, I could go back and I could add bidirectional links to all of these notes, and so that way I have everything I need for this guide to decision making all in one place. So just to recap, the first thing that you're going to do is you are going to answer all of the questions here in this project template. And again, you can create one for yourself if you just go over here to flows. Then what you're going to do is gather resources. And for that, what I would recommend, as I said, is to create a separate mem and then just type in the command list notes with whatever the topic is in the title. And in this case, it was list notes with decision making in the title. And then finally, we're going to generate a project plan and action steps, and we can modify this as we see fit. But that is a general overview of how you use Smart Write and Edit to plan projects faster than you ever thought possible. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below.